Good morning and welcome. We're going to sing together again today. This one might be slightly unfamiliar to you, but try to come along with me. Life be with you till we meet again. Live each day as it comes to you. Quiet rest at night restore you. Life be with you till we meet again. Peace be with you till we meet again. Let it calm the storms within you. Stillness radiates out from you. Peace be with you till we meet again.
Good morning and welcome everyone to online worship with White Bear Unitarian Universalist Church. We are so glad you found your way and we're so grateful to share this space with you. Right now we're seeing more than 275 households logged in. I'm Victoria Safford. I'm here today with Amy Peterson-Derrick, Carol Coette, and Reverend Jack Gady, and we're supported offsite by Anna Garris, Aaron Scott, and Reverend Sarah Goodman. This week, in addition to Sunday services, we hope to bring you an online Wednesday gathering open to all from 6:30 to 7:30. You can visit our website or Facebook for the Zoom link, and if you've not yet done so, please sign up for our email news, sending updates twice a week. Let us know how your beloved church community can help you stay steady and strong, resilient and courageous. Please stay connected. Let us know how we can help. Welcome to our church. Together, all together, gathered now in one strong body, We are here to grow our souls and serve this world in love.
Come in. Come into this space, which we make holy by our presence. Come in with all your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes. For here you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this space where we can touch and be touched, heal and be healed, forgive and be forgiven. Come into this space where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, the compassionate is expected. Come into this space. Together we make it a holy space. Welcome. Victoria will light the chalice.
For the beauty of the morning, for the beauty of our people, congregation, family, neighborhood, the people of earth, everywhere on earth, the beauty of their faces one by one, all join now in a tenderness that we have never known but always needed. For the beauty and the common decency of people, blessing us, sustaining us, amazing us, I light our chalice this morning that we may shine the light of hope.
Please join us in closing words. Love is the spirit of this church. Service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Please sing with me again, Bright Morning Star. Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, day is breaking in my soul. Oh, where are our dear mothers? Oh, where are our dear mothers? Oh, where are our dear mothers? Day is breaking in my soul. They are sowing seeds of gladness. They are sowing seeds of gladness. They are sowing seeds of gladness. Day is breaking in my soul. Oh, where are our dear fathers? Oh, where are our dear fathers? Oh, where are our dear fathers? Day is breaking in my soul. They are in the fields a plowing. They are in the fields a plowing. They are in the fields a plowing. Day is breaking in my soul. Oh, how can I be lonely
My friends are all around me. Their loving prayers surround me. Day is breaking in my soul.
This morning's story comes to us from a storybook called Kindness, a Treasury of Buddhist Wisdom by Sarah Conover. And the story is called Two Teachers and Tea. About a half a century ago in Japan, there lived a Zen Buddhist teacher named Nanin. One day, a university professor came to call on Nanin at her temple. Come in for some tea, said Nanin, leading the professor into the tea room. They sat across from each other at a small, bare table. For a long time, the old master sat in silence, perfectly at ease. Sometimes she smiled at the professor warmly, and at other times she gazed out the window at the beauty of the gardens. But the professor grew uncomfortable in the silence. He squirmed and tapped his fingers nervously. He looked around anxiously for the tea to arrive. Finally, the professor couldn't bear the silence any longer. The only thing that came to his mind was to share a lecture on Buddhism he'd just given at the university. And so, clearing his throat, the professor began a lengthy speech. The old master Nanin made a fine audience indeed. She nodded in a friendly way at the professor's most outstanding points and seemed to have a look of unending curiosity. So the professor was encouraged to keep talking. After all, lecturing was his business. After a half hour, still no tea had arrived, but the professor thought it would be impolite to bring attention to that fact. So he just continued his speech on Buddhism, and Nanin continued to be a most courteous audience. At last, an attendant carried in an elegant tray and a ceremonial teapot and 2 cups for each of the teachers. Nanin smiled, and she carefully placed a teacup before her chattering guest. Then Nanin slowly began to pour the tea into her guest's cup. She poured and poured and poured and poured some more until tea was overflowing the cup and covered the table and spilled out onto the floor. What are you doing? The professor sputtered. Can't you see that there's no more room in this cup? Then Nanin looked kindly at her visitor and replied, just like the cup, Professor, you are overflowing. You have too many ideas and opinions to be able to learn. Let us first empty our cups, and then we may learn together.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots humbly closed, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
The first reading is by Joy Harjo, Talking with the Sun. Joy Harjo was appointed United States Poet Laureate in June 2019 and is the first Native American Poet Laureate in the history of the position. Born in Tulsa, she's a member of the Muskogee Creek Nation. I believe in the sun, In the tangle of human failures of fear, greed, and forgetfulness, the sun gives me clarity. When explorers first encountered my people, they called us heathens, sun worshippers. They didn't understand that the sun is a relative and illuminates our path on this earth. After dancing all night in a circle, we realize that we are a part of a larger sense of stars and planets dancing with us overhead. When the sun rises at the apex of the ceremony, we are renewed. There's no mistaking this connection, though Walmart might be just down the road. Humans are vulnerable and rely on the kindnesses of the earth and the sun. We exist together in a sacred field of meaning. Our earth is shifting. We can all see it. I hear from my Inuit and Yupik relatives up north that everything has changed. It's so hot. There's not even enough winter. Animals are confused. Ice is melting. The quantum physicists have it right. They are beginning to think like Indians. Everything is connected dynamically at an intimate level. When you remember this, then the current wobble of the earth makes sense. How much more oil can be drained without replacement, without reciprocity? I walked out of a hotel room just off Times Square at dawn to find the sun. It was the 4th morning since the birth of my 4th granddaughter. This was the morning I was to present her to the sun as a relative, as one of us. It was still dark, overcast, as I walked through Times Square. I stood beneath a 21st century totem pole of symbols of multinational corporations made of flash and neon. The sun rose up over the city, but I couldn't see it amidst the rain. Though I was not at home, bundling up the baby to carry her outside, I carried this newborn girl within the cradleboard of my heart. I held her up and presented her to the sun so she would be recognized as a relative, so that she won't forget this connection, this promise, so that we all remember the sacredness of life.
The second reading is from Mary Oliver, Why I Wake Early. Hello, sun in my face. Hello, you who made the morning and spread it over the fields and into the faces of the tulips and the nodding morning glories and into the windows of even the miserable and crotchety. Best preacher that ever was. Dear star, that just happens to be where you are in the universe to keep us from ever darkness, to ease us with warm touching, to hold us in the great hands of light. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Watch now how I start this day in happiness, in kindness.
If you get too worried, what you ought to do is sing. If you get worried, what you ought to do is sing. If you get worried, what you ought to do is sing. Sing about your trouble and it just might pass. If you get lost, what you ought to do is sing. If you get lost, what you ought to do is sing. If you get lost, what you ought to do is sing. Sing about your trouble and it just might pass. Sing about joy and sing about love and hoping it lasts. Sing about your trouble, and it just might pass. Sing about joy and sing about love and hoping it lasts. Sing about your trouble, and it just might pass. Just sing about your trouble and it just might pass.
Outside the kitchen door this week here at church, in a patch of southern sun, a clump of purple crocuses, defiant as ever, elbowed their way out of the ice and muck-encrusted leaves, shouting hymns of glory. It rained on them this week and snowed on them, and sun came shining down to thaw them and encourage them. I was enchanted by their delicacy, their audacity, and mostly by their color, iridescent, regal purple, and the miracle of green. I was so grateful. But by Thursday, I began to get annoyed. I cracked the open door in the freezing rain to check on them, and there they were, still shining, laughing at the weather. Haven't you heard? I wanted to say. Don't you even listen to the news? Our lives are unraveling here. Everything is anxious, precarious, tenuous, it's dangerous. And yet you just go on blooming as if it had nothing to do with you, flaunting beauty, holding to your same old schedule of spring miracles. On Friday, there they were again, still at it, and I all but cried with gratitude. Such are these flip-flop healing days, right? A few days before the equinox, 100 robins, more or less, landed all at once outside my office window. I didn't notice at first, but then I heard this noise through the storm windows, as if our entire 60-voice choir had fluttered down from the treetops to stand in their section, singing, shouting, hollering melodiously, "My Lord, what a morning," right in front of my desk. 100 birds, maybe more, all over the ground, the trees, the woods, the alcove roof, splashing in the ice-cold stream, which isn't frozen anymore, flitting around and singing their hearts out, clapping and stomping, each golden breast so bright against the brown leaves, black leaves, gray leaves, dead leaves. They couldn't hear me tapping on the glass, so I held up a Post-it note. Could you all keep it down, please? We're in crisis here. We're hurtling toward despair. Show some respect. But those birds just kept on singing. I realized later that they could well have waved their own tiny bird-sized Post-it notes in retaliation at me, as could the crocuses out back. They could have held up little signs as well that said, you know, this isn't easy, what we're doing here. It's hard to sing and bloom in crisis. Haven't you heard about the changing climate? Don't you listen to the news? But our job as living creatures on this earth, gifted with another day of life, our job is just to shine and sing harder through our grief, bloom better through our fear. So we're just going to keep on singing, thank you. And you just keep doing whatever it is you do all day in there to love this world more fiercely. These are the signs of spring I'm seeing this week. Maybe you're seeing others. Some things have not changed at all. Some things like the equinox, the ocean tide, the rising of the sun with its great hands of light, children laughing, babies crying, laundry needing done. So many large and little things go on just as before, and they are going to save us, these small things. They're going to gather our fragmented spirits back into some kind of pattern, a deeper meaning that's been there all along, but we didn't always need to notice it. It matters that we notice now what anchors you to love and hope. This week, amidst the million emails from agencies and organizations and businesses, all explaining to me what all's going to change now, what all has to change, there came one from a nonprofit that I admire that just plainly, unabashedly laid out what's been true for them from the get-go, like when they first started being an organization. There was a sentence or two about caring for each other in the crisis and wishing all their readers well, and then this. We believe in a multiracial, multi-generational democracy that's people-centered, abundant, connected, and joyful. It's a variation on their mission statement. It is a reminder that they're still there, that we're still here, that the work is still important and the work continues, and the vision underneath all our work flows on like a stream, sometimes under the ground, sometimes frozen in winter, but the water and the work just keep on moving. There's comfort now, power in the ordinary basic beauty of the things that haven't changed and won't. So let's notice those, lift them up, hold them to the light, like Joy Harjo lifting her grandchild in the cradle board of her heart. I believe in the sun, she says. In the tangle of human failures, of fear, greed, forgetfulness, the sun gives me clarity. The sun is a relative and illuminates our path on this earth. The sun rose up over the city, she says, but I couldn't see it amidst the rain. And though I wasn't at home bundling up the baby to carry her outside, I carried this newborn girl within the cradle board of my heart. I held her up and presented her to the sun so she would be seen as a relative, so she wouldn't forget this connection, this promise, so that we all remember the sacredness of life. What's helping you remember? What rituals, what spiritual appointments do you really need to keep now, even as you shelter in place? Gratitude, forgiveness, there's plenty of time for it. Laughter, the permission to feel scared as well as hopeful all at once, the permission to feel anxious, lethargic, and confused, as well as focused and determined all at once. A prayer practice that's big enough and brave enough to hold the fears of other people, even strangers, in addition to prayers for yourself and your family. These things were always important. None of this has changed. My colleague Daniel Cantor in Texas quoted C.S. Lewis this week, the novelist and theologian. Preaching in England in 1939 in a sermon called Learning in Wartime, Lewis said, "I think it important to try to see the present calamity in a true perspective. The war creates no absolutely new situation. It simply aggravates the permanent human situation so that we can no longer ignore it. Human life," he said, "has always been lived on the edge of a precipice. Human culture has always had to exist under the shadow of something infinitely more important than itself." It's always mattered that we strive to align our little lives with that which is larger, infinite, eternal, and more important than us. By whatever name you're going to call it, it's never mattered more. Watch for signs and portents now. Tiny Post-it notes in the beaks of noisy robins, flowers in outrageous colors, throwing back their heads, laughing in a rainstorm, mixed with sleet out by the recycling bin, or a neighbor bringing soup, or the teacher who somehow shifted everything this past week to teaching 25 fifth graders all online and checking in with every child every single day. A nurse exhausted from his shift, standing in the grocery line behind you. The person you don't know from church, a new care convener, reaching out to you by email, even though you've never met. You should open that and answer it. That's a miracle right there. And there are other people on that thread, maybe strangers all, for whom your reply may be the only human contact that they get this week. You should always answer your church email. I saw a story in the New York Times about a group of young whitewater rafters who took a 25-day trip on the Colorado River where it runs through the Grand Canyon. They left on February 19th. They came out last Saturday, March 14th. They'd had no contact with the outside world, no idea that this virus they vaguely heard about a month ago had exploded into a global catastrophe. They had no way to make sense of what the guide who picked them up was trying to tell them about our transformed world. And the guide rushed to show them on his phone images from Italy, South Korea, Washington State, to tell them about the stock market and colleges closing and this new term, this new language, social distancing, physical distancing. They shook their heads in disbelief. They did not pick up their phones right away. Without even speaking, it was as if they made a pact to hover on the threshold for a while, still on the river, still in the old world before their trip even started, almost as if they were there gathering gear and provisions for this new adventure. I've thought about them and about the person who met them coming out and what I'd want to tell them. First, I don't know where you all are from, but you need to know crocuses in Minnesota are coming up as usual. And you should take a deep breath because you might not be able to handle it. The purple and the green are so magnificent. And robins have come back in full force and full voice and splendid red choir robes. You won't believe the music. You should brace yourself. There is so much beauty here. Cracking open, our mallards came back this week. And it's a good thing, too. Because also, while you were gone, while you were out, something terrible happened. Actually, everything changed. Life as we know it, as you used to know it, that's over, maybe. At least unrecognizable for now. And you need to stay strong and you need to stay safe and learn all the tricks and protocols that we've all mastered in the past 10 days. You won't believe how swiftly random strangers, millions of them, all around the world have joined hands without touching to become a family. You need to step back at least 6 feet and hold in your mind the picture of the Colorado River, that silver thread of living water weaving through the canyon. And hold in your eyes the stars that you saw lying on your back at night. And hold in your heart, seal upon your heart, the people you love. And rededicate yourselves right now to the work you did before you left on your trip, paid work if you loved it, or the other holy work that you were doing that served this world, and repurpose all your power right now. And watch for flowers, watch for birds, because some things, believe it or not, are still okay. And they are healing balm to us. They put us and our worries and our sorrows all into perspective. And welcome home. We missed you. We need you here with your strong arms and your clear love of adventure. It's whitewater everywhere now. And we need you in the boat. We're traveling all together. There's nothing new in that. It's just we're noticing now and we're understanding every day a little more. We're teaching each other what that means. That's what I'd want to say. Or maybe that's just what I need to hear. Some things we thought could never change are changing. Some things haven't changed. And we are here, as we have always been, just to shine and shine with love. Let's hold silence together. Into the holy quiet of this moment, I invite you to whisper the names of those you're holding in your heart and open your hands as if you were ready to receive the names that everybody else is speaking. You can't hear them in your head, but you can hear them in your heart. This morning, we hold in love and deepest care all who are especially at risk as this virus advances, our elders, beloveds with compromised health, people who are poor, people without homes, people in prison, people with chemical addiction and mental illness. We hold everyone who's told us quietly they have a little cough, little fever, little sniffle, because they would not be mentioning it if they weren't now gripped by fear, and so we hold them. We hold everyone who's scared about money and housing and employment and food. We hold the healthcare workers, doctors and nurses' aides, and all the workers who support them, everybody whose job it is to keep us safe and sound, and they're still doing it. Breathe in peace and know that you are held invisibly in great, strong hands of light. Know that you are held as every living thing is held by a love that will not let you go. Amen.
Sing with me one last time, prayer for your house. May nothing evil cross your door, and may ill fortune never pry about your windows. May the roar and rain go by. By faith made strong, the rafters will withstand the battering of the storm. Your house, though all the world grow chill, will keep you warm. Peace shall walk softly through each room, touching your lips with holy wine, till every casual corner blooms into a shrine. With laughter drown the raucous shout, and though the sheltering walls are thin, may they be strong to keep fear out and hold love in. Join us in the closing words. May peace dwell within our hearts and understanding in our minds. May courage steel our will and love of truth forever guide us.
Friends, thank you for joining us this morning. If you're not receiving our email news, go to our website and sign right up. We'll send updates twice a week about online services, the Wednesday Soul Work Gathering, and Circles of Care, convened online by volunteers to keep all of our households connected and strong. Call or write to us with questions or to ask for help or to offer help. We are sending love from Maple Street. Stay strong and stay well, everybody. So be it. See to it. Amen.